Well, hello there, people of YouTube. I'm John, as you know, and this is kind of an unannounced live stream. I didn't have anything really planned for this day. I honestly thought it was going to take a lot longer to get to where we are today. Last year, when I was watching the statistics on the channel, my prediction, this was around the middle of last year, my prediction was that we would hit 50,000 subscribers here probably sometime in March or maybe April this year. Well, it turns out that it happened yesterday, sometime while I was out and about. We actually went out in the field yesterday to cover a pretty cool event that was happening in Sacramento. And when I came back last night, I looked at the channel and it had 50,003 subscribers. So I just wanted to come on here for a minute today. I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I don't want to detract from the video that published this morning. The video that published this morning, by the way, is really cool. You might want to check that one out. It's all about the Niles Canyon process or progress on SP1744. For those of you watching who don't know, SP1744 is a 260 mogul, right? That used to be a Southern Pacific engine that worked in the Western Division, I guess is what they called it. So it saw service around the Bay Area, which makes it very relevant to Niles Canyon. And it also saw service in the valley, the San Joaquin Valley, is my understanding, before going on to other places. But in the video that published this morning, we showed how they take the tires off of the drivers. And it's a really cool process and something that I love because you don't see it every day. And as you know, that's what we cover here, things you don't see every day. So I've been thinking about what the channel is and what it means and what it does and what it should do. And this has been over the course of, I don't know, the past couple of years. And I just want to say hi to folks that popped in here. I see, Boulder Creek Yard. Hey, James. Sorry, I missed the op session yesterday. We didn't get back into town until sometime in the evening. And thanks for the super chat there. And thanks to everybody commenting. I'm not turning this into a big conversation. I just wanted to come on and thank people. But back to what I was saying a second ago, I get distracted by the chat, and I'm trying not to do that. Back to what I was saying a second ago, what the channel really is about, or has become about, I suppose you could say, and it really was all along, but there were other things that were being focused on before just because the content was readily available. But really what it's about and has been about and will be about are basically three things. One is model railroading. Obviously, that's something that we talk about all the time on the channel. And I have something to say about one of the ongoing projects that I have as a modeling project. Let me talk about that real quick, and then I'll get back to the three things that I'm trying to cover here. You may recall this is something I've been wanting to mention on the podcast, and I keep forgetting to add it to the list of stuff that I talk about for podcasts. And I'll be talking about podcasts here in a second too, because next week's podcast is going to be a little different from what we usually do here for a very good reason. And I'll talk about that in a minute too. I should have made a list. All the stuff that I've been thinking about is popping into my head, and I'm sure I'll forget something without a list. But I do want to mention that I have an ongoing project, which is the N-scale Amtrak long distance train. And you'll remember sometime in 2021, I think it was early in the year, like March or April or something, I did 2 episodes of installing DCC and sound into the P42s for that project. And the next month was going to be installing lights into the coaches. And I didn't really want to purchase stuff that's made for that. I wanted to come up with something different. And I asked some friends for help. And it took a little bit longer than I originally sort of planned for, which is okay, because I mean, there's plenty of other stuff to cover. but someone did ask about this on some comments in the comment section of one of the videos recently. That program will continue, but I'm working on finding out the best way to light the coaches that's not a store-bought option. I think the easiest way is just to buy the Kato kits for that, because Kato makes lighting kits for their coaches. But I want to do something that's different that will show people you don't have to spend as much money on the kits that people make for these things. Because I've seen the kits from Kato, and what my recollection was of how the lights worked was they looked fine, but I thought I remembered them flickering a bit going down the track, and I don't want my lights to flicker. So anyway, it's still there, and I will get back to it. It's just a matter of when, and I don't know right now because I have a lot of other stuff that is sort of taking the place of that, and I still have the first coach is lit, by the way. It has been successfully lit with help from a friend, and I may just do kind of an update video on that sometime in the near future, explaining more of the process. But right now, it's just not ready to share that whole project as it is. So I was saying something about I'm going to talk about the podcast, but I'm also talking about the three things that the channel's mostly about. So the three things, it was model railroading. That's where I lost the track because I started talking about that project. Model railroading, real railroading, so prototype railroading, and you'll see that in interviews with people who are out in the railroading world. We talk about that quite a bit. You'll also see that in, chasing trains is, well, it's more of a having fun with your friends series, but it shows you prototype railroads. The things that we go to chase are prototype railroads. So that's in the prototype realm. Also, like I said a minute ago, interviews with people who work on railroads or are part of something that's happening locally, or like this morning. This morning hits two of the things that we do on the channel. One of them is real railroading because they're knocking the tires off the drivers of the 1744. That's a real locomotive. But that brings me to the third thing, which is historic preservation or historic restoration. And you'll see that in the updates from Niles Canyon. You'll see it in the updates that I do with Mike Panel out in Wyoming. And I'm trying to think of some other restoration. A lot of times actually this month's model railroading with Jack Burgess is going to be about the Yosemite Valley 330, which is that first class car that he scratch built for his railroad, but it actually exists. It sits up in Niles Canyon. It's owned by a guy named Wes Swift, who bought it for $1. It's a great story. That's something that we're going to be working on tomorrow. I'm going to go see Jack tomorrow. But those are the three things: model railroading, real railroading, and historic preservation. So those are going to be the key things that you can expect to see. It's the three key things that you've been seeing over the past about 4 years. Yeah, about 4 years since the person that used to contribute here stopped contributing. It's actually kind of a funny situation because once I started doing these projects and these videos really on my own, it dawned on me that the person that I mentioned a second ago thought the channel was about him, and it really never was. It was about those three things that I just mentioned, more focused on model railroading back then, I think, because we were doing a lot more model projects or model videos or videos about models. The other thing where you'll see models break into the conversation here are all the product spotlights and N Scale Friday videos that we end up doing too. So anyway, with all that said, I want to move on to the other thing that I came on here to mention just briefly, which is the podcast for next month is going to come out. I think I put it in the schedule on Friday. So it's either going to come out Friday or Saturday, and it's not going to be quite as long as we usually go for a couple of reasons. One, I haven't done as much this month as I normally do. Aside from the trip yesterday to Sacramento, I haven't gone out to chase trains or done any model project videos that I had to work on here. What I've been doing is I've been preparing for the Bay Area Layout Design and Operations meeting that's happening next weekend here on the channel. And in case you haven't seen any of the recent videos we did about this or heard the news on the podcast that I've been talking about for the past, couple of months, maybe 3 or 4 months even, the layout design and operations weekend is what we call it, is something that's put on here by members of the LDSIG and OPSIG groups. And of course, our PCR, which is the Pacific Coast region of the NMRA. And this year, because of pandemic considerations, we're doing a hybrid event where we're going to do a Zoom meeting on Saturday, and then we're going to do an in-person thing on Sunday in addition to a Zoom meeting. So people can sign up from anywhere and attend, but it's also going to be simulcast right here on the channel starting at 9 a.m. or somewhere close to 9 a.m. next Saturday. And it's going to be the entire event. So Saturday, it's going to be basically a Zoom meeting with tons of really great content. I've worked with some of the people that are presenting some of the content, and it's really good stuff. The cool thing about doing a hybrid is that we're able to bring in presenters from other places in the world. And we have people from one guy I recorded with this past week is presenting from the UK, which I thought was really cool. And the funny thing though is he's presenting a Western railroad, so it's very relevant to our area and to our area of interest here in the Bay Area. So there was another person that's going to be presenting from Canada, which I thought was really cool, and then another person who's presenting from US, but over in, I think he was from Minnesota. So we're able to bring in presenters from other places because we're doing it virtually, and that goes for Saturday and Sunday. So we're going to have what I refer to as the SIG meet, because it's, like I said, it's put on by people in the SIGs next weekend here on the channel. And it's going to be all day Saturday and all day Sunday. So I thought to myself, as I was preparing for next month's podcast, I can't put out a full podcast and then expect people to watch in addition to that, 8 hours of other content. And then on Sunday also, right? That's seems like a bit of overkill. And I don't want to overwhelm people with too much stuff all at once. That's one of the reasons why for many years now, I've been scheduling programs to come out only a couple times and sometimes 3 times a week, because I don't want to just push out like 12 videos all in one day, because I don't expect that anybody would have enough time to watch that much stuff. So anyway, I want to thank everybody who's commented here and everybody who came on when you saw me pop on here live. Again, it's, one of these unscheduled things that, as a matter of fact, I wasn't even really planning to come on at all today, but I got a piece of equipment that I wanted to test anyway. And this was a great time to come on and thank everybody for helping to get to 50,000 subscribers. I'm really floored by it. It's kind of a surprise in a way, because I've known it was coming for a long time, but to have it happen before January even ended, to me, was just a real shock. Based on the numbers and the projections I came up with last year, I honestly didn't think it was going to happen. Like I said a few minutes ago, I didn't think it was going to happen until maybe even into the second quarter this year. But we had such an amazing sort of avalanche of views and subscribers and activity throughout December and most of this month that it just sort of catapulted up to 50 very fast. So I do want to thank everybody. I mentioned it in the description of this video. That means everybody who got it here, So if you're part of that, I ask a lot of friends and people to contribute, people that actually know what they're talking about. That's something that I've really focused on since about 2018, trying to bring in people that actually know what they're talking about. It's a big deal to me, because having accurate information, I think, makes it more worthwhile. So I could sit here and start trying to remember everybody, but even if I made a list, it would be a lot more comprehensive than just off the top of my head, but I'm sure I'd forget somebody. So thanks to everybody, and that includes all the great viewers. I always say that we have the best viewers on YouTube here. And what I mean by that is that People are very supportive, and their comments are almost completely positive on the videos. I really appreciate that. Sometimes people offer additional information that is accurate and correct and helps people, and it inspires people. And I think having a community like that really adds value to the channel. And that can't happen without all of the viewers. So thank you very much for that. And I would be remiss if I didn't also mention our Patreon supporters. That's another huge deal because, frankly, in 2018, when I started the Patreon page, it was because the YouTube channel does not generate enough income to pay the bills here. And it still doesn't. So everybody who contributes and helps out on Patreon is also doing all of us a big favor by helping me keep the lights on. Without the additional income that we get from Patreon, it would be a real struggle. Like, I might even have to quit doing this, in order to go work full time for somebody else. So I can't express enough gratitude there as well. So with that, one last time, looking over at the text here, John, thank you very much for the super sticker and for the compliments. And Mark, we're also looking forward to the SIG meet, and we'll be really looking forward to having you join us from Australia. That's the whole point to doing this virtually. We want to be as inclusive as possible, and that's also my shtick here on the channel, to be as inclusive as possible. That's one of the reasons why we're going to simulcast the SIG meet here on the channel next weekend. So looks like Sparky popped on here. Hey, Dave. Oh, thanks, man. Look, you're going to make me start crying like you did when you got the model from Nathan. So anyway, thanks again. I'm out. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will see you next weekend on the podcast. And of course, I'll be live with Michelle again next month, and looking forward to all that. So thank you all very, very much. It's a real honor and a privilege, and it's flattering to see where this has gone. And I'm really looking forward to the next 50,000. It's going to happen faster than we think. And I'm just excited to be able to bring stuff to people that enjoy it. So thanks so much. I'll see you all soon.